there are literally traps everywhere in our system for us to like fail or be stuck or in debt. And my dad actually went through an experience where he realized that like, oh my God, this shit is real.
It's the freedom to choose. You finally realize like, whoa, like, am I on this path because it's what everyone says I should be doing? And then you're able to realize like, what do I personally want?
I just feel like the consciousness levels every time are going to be higher. It's the new branch. If your kid says stuff like, we're just here to learn love, like, holy shit, you know, like, yeah, you can't sit him down in a classroom. It's not going to work.
No.
The consciousness levels are too high. You already have the answers. You might be overlooking it. You might be disqualifying your potential, your talent, because you think it's not good enough.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I have a guest joining us this week, Laura Renaud. I'm so excited to have you here. For anyone jumping on and listening, I found you, I think, on TikTok first. Okay. And just to introduce you, I guess you could call yourself a content creator. You talk about breaking the matrix, not losing your shit after you've discovered all of this. Like, you start coming into an awakening and you're like, oh my God, now what? How do I live here?
Yeah.
Knowing everything you know. And I think it was one of your posts. And for anyone listening, like, you just speak, and I love it because you speak so freely and you just say whatever you're thinking and then you post it. And I feel like there's such value in that because it's not this curated side of, you know, like, of course there's place for that on Instagram and TikTok too, but I feel like it just resonates so deeply because it feels, every single video I'm like, truth, like, it resonates deeply. Yeah. And I think with everything going on in the world, especially right now, for people who maybe they don't even know, like, they may be hearing this term matrix and they're like, okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I probably have listeners on all spectrums who maybe have heard of it, are like deep in it. Other people who are maybe it's starting to drip on them. And so I just figured, let's just have an open conversation, maybe a little about you, like how your journey went to discovering the matrix, what your awakening kind of started to look like. Because I feel like more and more people are going to be leaning into that.
Oh, for sure. I don't think people have a choice now with the way everything's going. Like, consciousness levels are going up. People are asking questions and realizing that, like, this little life design that was like mapped out for us, it doesn't feel as good. And then when you do reach the things you were supposed to get, you're like, that's it. Like, this is so boring, you know? So yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm only 23. People are always like, what the shit? Like, oh, sorry, can I say words like
you can swear? You can say whatever you want.
Swear. I'm trying to stop because, you know, but yeah. I'm only 23, so a lot of people are always like, oh my God, how do you have this much wisdom? And I always say, I don't really know. That's why I think a lot of the things I say, not I'm like channeling, but like it's coming from like my higher mind or something, because it makes no sense that I can say all these things. But yeah, basically, I quit high school when I was 15. I didn't graduate. I was just like 1 month into, not my last year, the one before that, I was just like, I'm so unhappy. Like, why I have to keep up with this? Like, I have to go to university. Like, this doesn't make sense. My parents also, they didn't finish school. So I was like, okay, maybe I have some playing field. Ended up, I never went back to school. I was supposed to, didn't, everything. I'm super grateful for the support of my parents. And then after that, it was like, okay, so what am I going to do? I worked a little, I like to call them matrix jobs, you know. I worked at the Canadian Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons. So, you know, just making coffee and donuts, breakfast sandwiches, all that. Super fun, but that kind of got me depressed. And at a certain point, I was like, there has to be more to life. And I was going through my first heartbreak. Like, the first guy I was really into, like, broke my heart. And I was like, I felt like such an unworthy piece of shit. So the fact that he gave me attention, I was like, oh, okay. Like, he finally made me feel worthy. But I just realized he triggered something that was inside of me the whole time. And I was like, oh, well, I really have to have this person in my life because thanks to him, I got to feel that. But like, I had access to that the whole time. I just didn't know. So after that, I just started being like, I asked myself, is life really meant to be like really shit and then really good and then shit again? And just like, is that it? Like, is that just life? And I was just like, there's got to be more to this. So I just remember I logged off of social media accounts for a month. And I was just like sitting with myself. I was meditating 1 hour every single day. Sometimes I remember I tried 2 hours, like just sitting for 2 hours, and that was excruciating. But what that allowed me to do is get to know myself and like the voice in my head and its beliefs and its like subconscious programming, all of these things that I know maybe not a lot of people are familiar with. But yeah, and then from that point, that's what's funny. I feel like I had a spiritual awakening and then came the conspiracy awakening because they go hand in hand. Like, I feel like you can talk about spirituality or like manifestation and like, oh my God, everything's energy. But that goes hand in hand. Well, yeah, there's people who are aware of this and that lied to you about it and they're hiding it from you and they don't want you to know how powerful you are.
Mm.
So realizing that all together, it kind of just became my niche. And I actually, the guy that like broke my heart, when he found out I was a conspiracy theorist, he was like, there's no way, I can't, I just can't, and stuff like that. So it's funny because he also didn't want me to do social media. And I did exactly what he didn't. So it's just funny because I think the reason why you receive my videos as genuine is because they are, because obviously in 2024 there's so many people like, I want to go viral, I want to become an influencer. If you do it from that intention, people can smell off of you if you're authentic or not, because we're all energetic beings. So like, I can tell if you're being yourself or not. And sometimes I'm really annoying because the people in my life, I can tell what their fake laugh is, you know, that laugh for fluff, like ha. So I observe people, and then like when I see them fake laughing, I'm like, ew, because it's like, sometimes, yeah, in societal norms you have to pretend to laugh, but like, that wasn't funny, I don't want to laugh, all of these things. So for
Yeah.
me, it's always just been like, who are you, what do you want to say, what do you believe, and tell the world. So I'm very grateful because my entire life I was pretty like by myself. Like, I isolated a lot as a child and didn't really fit in with the other kids, obviously. So I spent a lot of time by myself. So if you're content by yourself, when you run into other people who have different beliefs, um I don't know, it was just always super easy for me to embody them fully. And even on
Mhm.
the internet, because it's like, I remember the first video I ever posted that went viral is basically saying, when people find out that pedophiles run the world. Sorry, I know that's like really like out there, but
Not really. For me, it
no.
doesn't feel out there because of like,
Okay.
yeah.
I know sometimes I just like, even with my podcast, I try to be like not too blunt, but like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And that's the first video that popped off. And I was like, holy shit. Like, what if I actually talk about these things that I thought I couldn't talk about with people because I'll be crazy or whatever? And I started talking about it, and people were like, oh my God. So basically, I just say my thoughts out loud. And people are like, how are you
Yeah.
thinking the same thing as me? But we're all connected. So if I'm thinking it, you're thinking it. But who has the balls to say
100%.
it, type of thing, you know?
Right.
So I feel like I really, what like my mission or like my ambition is to just uh make people realize that it's safe to be yourself entirely, and that when you are yourself entirely, you're more magnetic, everything that you want in your life comes to you. And it's just like, it's just good stuff, only the good stuff, you know.
Well,
So
and
yeah.
how wild too, the breakup with your boyfriend, where it was like that was perfect because had you not broken up with him, would you have stepped into this?
Well, it's just funny. He wasn't even my boyfriend. I was dating him for like a month, but
Yeah.
he was like my first kiss, my first everything. So it was just like, oh my God, I'm so attached to this person. And I had just started working out. Like, I had been overweight my entire life. So I had just started prioritizing myself and taking care of myself. And like, I was posting like some stories on Instagram about my
Mhm.
workouts, just being confident. I was buying workout clothes and just like stepping out of my comfort zone. And basically, I realized he was asking me to go back in because he was a
Mhm.
Muslim Arab. So, ugh, I don't want my
Yeah.
woman posting on social media for everyone to see. Like, it's no. So I just realized, like, I had an impulsive moment where I was like, I need to cut this off because I'm so scared he's going to
Mm.
ask me to go back in my cage. And I was just starting to come out of it. So I really saw it as like, it was a gift from life, of like a little reminder that sometimes you gotta like stop. Because oh my God, I had wanted a relationship for so long. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to have a boyfriend. Nah, nah, nah. And especially if you feel like you're an unworthy person because you're overweight, and like in high school all the boys used, you know, no one looked at me. So all of those little feelings of, oh my God, someone's
Mhm.
finally paying attention to me, I had to let those go and be like, well, I have to find out what's in store for me. Because I don't, let's say I wouldn't, like, I would have stayed with him, I think my life would be completely different. But this is exactly who I was meant to be. So I
Right.
think it's really fascinating how I've realized sometimes our own fears will be projected into our physical reality. And it's not a test, but like, someone is going to say something to you that you think about yourself subconsciously. And it's just to allow you to realize that maybe you have this fear or you have this belief.
Mm-hmm.
and you need to let it go, or like you can't give it your power and listen to it. So I couldn't listen to the part of myself that was scared to show herself, that was scared to come out and be safe in the world, and like, because I really think I was just scared of living. Just like safety for me is staying home with my cat. Like that's my life, you know? So
Yeah.
pushing at myself out of that. And I feel like doing my videos was just a great way for me to allow other people to feel, because there's so many people who feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
So by social media, me saying my thoughts, we're all connected. People feel seen and heard, and the beauty starts there, you know? So,
And it's so beautiful too, because like when you do show up fully authentically you, and other people are feeling seen and heard by your thoughts, but like you're also allowing yourself to be seen and heard, not only
yeah,
by yourself but by others. And I'm like, that allows you to feel even better about being yourself, because you know that you're like, whoa, wait, when I'm 100% me, this resonates with people. And that's what we all want ultimately, is connection. And it just shows you don't need to be anything else but you.
I know. And like,
Yeah.
I'm just,
And that it's
because
not crazy.
I
Like,
know.
I don't know
I
if you
had,
want to go into this too, but like you can finish your thought in a sec. But like to go into what that was like starting to discover, because did it happen for you where you started just having this spiritual kind of wake up, and it led you away from all the matrixy things, like the typical job, school, blah 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 blah, and then did you start discovering all the conspiracy stuff? And did you almost get like downloads of it, or were you like did you go in the rabbit hole of TikTok and then go, holy shit? Like this,
yeah.
I get it now, and this just resonates as truth for me? Or like, how did that happen for you?
Um, well, I have a very, my dad is like, wow. Like, he has beaten the matrix. Like, he has, when I say that in a way, is like, I obviously can't like expose certain things, so I'm gonna just speak like surface level so everyone understands. But like, there are literally traps everywhere in our system for us to like fail or be stuck or in debt or whatever it is. And my dad actually went through an experience where he realized that, like, oh my God, this shit is real. So it's like I had concrete evidence that, like, this is real because he
Mm,
went through it. And I think I was like 10, 11 years old when this shit went down. And my dad had always been like out there with conspiracies. Like, I remember in high school, there was the whole Ebola breakout, and
mm,
everyone was like, oh my God. But then there was a video of like, literally they paid a little boy be like to act like you're sad and your family just died, and then he's like smiling, and 2 seconds later for the news, for the camera, right, he's like, I'm so sad, my family, and stuff like that. So I was just like, I remember I was in school and I started saying how like it's fake and like the media is brainwashing you, and like everyone was like, what the fudge is wrong with this girl? And like my math teacher at the time was like, that's not possible. So I had I had always had these beliefs, but I wasn't like speaking, like I didn't feel the need to go there, and I wasn't like embodying them fully because I didn't, it's not that I didn't want to disrupt the peace, but like why would I put myself through that? But then when the whole pandemic situation started happening, there was like no way I was going to like stay quiet about it. And I just remember at the time I was dating a guy. I had seen him for like a few weeks, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go get vaccinated tomorrow." I'm like, I can't date you anymore. And he's like, what? I was like, I can't. I just can't. He's like, you're a manipulative person. I'm like, I'm not. It's like saying I won't sleep with you before marriage. Like that, those are my values. I can't. I'm sorry. So that's really where I feel like this, I was put up to the test to like, okay, how strong are you going to stand in your beliefs, even if literally everyone tells you you're nuts, you know? So I always, obviously, the first guy, the first heartbreak I went through, I use that as fuel. Like, I eat that because it's like he thought I was insane. And like he said, if we have kids, we're getting them vaccinated. And I went, I can't, I'm sorry, all these things. So honestly, that just goes to show when you like stand up for yourself and you sit like, oh my God, it's so powerful. But we're all fucking terrified of doing it because we're all taught that, like, yeah, we want friends, we want our family to love us. You know, it's just all the external approval that we're searching, but like it's so empty and it's not fulfilling and it's not what we actually crave. You know, you don't crave everybody's approval. You crave either your mom or your dad's or someone who neglected you when you were little, or you know, all of these things. So yeah, I feel like I always knew about conspiracies, and then I had like the more spiritual awakening aspect of like, oh my God, like your past trauma, it's energy that's sitting in your body, like you need to revisit it, you need to clear it, become aware of the patterns and shit like that. And then 2021 I started having the food ingredient awakening. Like I knew that like McDonald's was bad. I knew that fast food had twisted shit in it, you know, but then it's like, oh my god, what is red 40, and oh my god, vegetable, like I feel like I started realizing it just before it became a huge thing on social media, where like now everyone's carnivore, everyone's saying like fuck seed oils. So that goes really hand in hand, because then you're like, okay, so the air I'm breathing is bad, the mattress I'm sleeping on isn't organic and it has chemicals and flame retardants. Like it's everything. I could look at everything in my room right now and find something that's not good for me, you know? But it's just that really paralyzed me because I didn't know how to move forward. And then hence how the ideas came to me as like, you still have to exist even if you realize all this is real. Like you still have to like experience the little matrix things. Like yeah, you're still going to want to buy a house. Like don't you're still going to want to have a family. You're still going to want to buy a new car. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And recently I got a new car and I saw a comment someone said, when you break out of the matrix, aren't you supposed to like not want materialistic things? And the point of breaking out of the matrix is that you get to choose what you want from now on. Like if you want the big house, you can have it, but you don't need it because you realize that you were only brainwashed to think you need it. But what do you really want? So if you want the big house, you can have it. If you want to live in a bus or an old, I don't know, you know, people can do whatever they want.
Right.
So
It's the freedom to choose. You finally realize, like,
yeah,
whoa, like, am I on this path because it's what everyone says I should be doing? And then you're able to realize, like, what do I personally want? Because I went through the
yeah,
same thing of
yeah,
being like, okay, but I still know that having money gives you options and like gives you the freedom to live the life that you want. And ultimately, in this realm that we're living in and how things are, like, you do need money to do anything that you want to do in this world as it is right now. Was it always this way? Did we always need money? Did we always have this currency? Obviously not. But it's
yeah,
like that's what our life is right now. So are you gonna fight it? And you obviously can. You could go be like these people who don't earn any money and you don't need money. You could live here like that. But it's like, is it giving you the quality of life that you want to have here?
yeah.
And
Like
from yeah,
you have to be honest with yourself about your desires, and like also give yourself permission to want those things. And like you don't have to like, it's not because that like, oh my god, you realize you're in the matrix and everything is bad for you, that you have to start never washing your hair or washing your hair only with like apple cider vinegar and walking barefoot. You don't have to do that. Like we live in the matrix. How do you want to live in the matrix? That's just,
right.
you know, like I get it, shoes are bad for us, but like I'm not gonna yeah, I'm putting shoes on, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, it's realizing all of these things, because you have to give yourself permission, because I feel like we're so programmed to feel guilty for wanting what we want, because it's like, who am I to want these things? Am I good enough for that? Like did I work hard enough for that? Like am I the type, you know? So it all stems down to worthiness all the time for literally anything you want in your life. Like am I good enough for this thing? But you were literally taught, like you were taught to use your brain against you. So I think that's what like breaking from the matrix is. You just, you let go of the programming you don't want, because your brain is like a computer and it's really fucking smart. You get to choose. Like that's cool. You're in a video game. What do you want to play? What aspect of the game do you want to play? You know?
Right. And taking back the control that anything that you don't like about your own life and the stories that you're living, like you can choose at any time to rewrite them, drop them, and shift it. And
Yeah.
understanding that you actually are that powerful. You really
Yeah.
are that powerful that the second you shift the thought and you can repeat that thought to make it a real new belief within you, like it changes everything. And you're able to change things that instantaneously. And I think that's where it's realizing you don't need to believe all these disempowering beliefs. Like, no, you really are that powerful. And if abundance really is your birthright, what do you want to do with it? Because it's
Yeah.
like you could go live wherever you want. You could have the big house if that's what you want, or you could ditch that idea. I think it comes down to like, is it your truest heart desire or is it for somebody else? And
Yeah,
that's where only
exactly.
you can know. It's like, is this for you or is it because of what you think it's going to look like to these other people? And that's why you want the thing. Because then
Yeah.
I'm like, then that's never going to just flow easily for you, or it might, but I feel like there's going to be more lessons along the way. Where if it's
Yeah.
something that you truly feel is your truest thing for you in your heart, it's like that's going to come easily. And for you getting the car, it's like, okay, if you get to live here and choose how you want to live here, should you just deserve to drive something that's shitty or like causes you, or do you want to drive something that you enjoy? Like
Yeah.
you get to choose that thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Because obviously, everyone in the media, especially because of social media, we only see the happy aspects of someone's life. So we're thinking like, oh my God, my life is shit. But that's when exactly you need to turn off your phone, because it's all a hoax in a way. Like it's not real. So like obviously, like I am as raw and authentic as I can be, but sometimes I'm having meltdowns and I'm not going to film it. But sometimes I do. And sometimes I feel inspired to post it because I'm like, shit, like I'm going through it. There's for sure someone else that is too. So, because obviously there's so many people with like, they have the perfect house and then they seem to be making money so easily. But I feel like if you consume content on social media and it whispers in the back of your brain, I don't have this, I'm not good enough for this, I'm going to have to work so hard for this, and you just start watching the inner dialogue, just turn off your phone or unfollow those people. It doesn't have to be bad blood or anything, but like there's people I used to follow and then I realized every time I see their pictures it makes me feel like I'm a piece of shit. It's nothing about them, but it makes me feel like I'm incompetent or I'm not pretty enough or like whatever it is, you know? So that's where social media should not be used. Like I say this too, like people watching my content, I never want them to like aspire to be like me. I want them to aspire to be like the fullest, most authentic versions of them. You know, I'm just being me, trying to show you how to do you type of thing. So I think it's really cool unlearning all of these things that we've been taught because essentially, I do believe everything we've been taught is not ours and it's not who we are and it's not in alignment with what we naturally are. Like we have so much accumulated shit that is not in harmony with like our natural state of being. Like, oh my God, abundance is your birthright. What does that mean? That means you never had to work hard. You never had to prove your worth. You never had to work like it's just crazy, but we're so programmed to think no, 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 you need a job, you need to be successful, you need a diploma, you need to save up. Like no, I promise that like me lately what I'm realizing, and I repeat this to myself every day, but it is God provides for every single one of my needs and more easily all the time. And I don't have to ask myself how, because if I ask myself how, I'll never figure it out because I have very limited resources, you know? So
Right.
but all
And when
this
you
ties in
focus on the how,
together.
you freeze. Like when you focus on the how, you freeze instead of just trusting. Like, did you state what you wanted? You did. Okay, can you trust now? Like that it's
Yeah.
all coming together for you if you just keep going toward the thing that you want.
Yeah.
Um, do you find were you raised to believe in God? Were you in the church? What was your upbringing like in regards to faith and spirituality?
Um no religion. Like my parents, like I think I had the chillest, most, I don't even know where my parents are from. It's crazy. But I remember when the whole family used to go to church on the 24th of December, me and my brother stayed home because my parents didn't impose that on us. I never went to church, I never read a Bible, anything like that. But I do feel like recently I've gotten more of an interest in it because I'm learning that a lot of the things in spirituality is a lot of false light, and I'm learning that there's a lot of stuff that appears like light and love, but there's like darkness behind it. And I think that obviously like it's not hard to believe because when you look at everything in our world, Disney looks all sweet and innocent, but it's the most twisted thing ever.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah. So I was just like never yes, I never had an introduction to religion, but then I started being like, this spirituality thing became a trend now, huh? Everyone's buying tarot card decks and manifesting, and oh my God, witchcraft is like almost becoming normal. What is this, you know? So I realized that when I was like in my whole like manifestation law of attraction phase, like many years ago, I would always thank the universe or I'd ask the universe. But then I realized the universe is the creation and God is the creator. And I had struggled to say the word God or like thank you, God, because it's as if I feel like I was so cut off. Like it's as if I didn't believe that I was unconditionally loved and supported. Like I'm getting chills because it's we're so taught that we're not good enough. Like we have all the evidence in the world to think we're not good enough. So, yeah, there's this infinite divine consciousness that loves you like unconditionally. The word no conditions. Even with your mistakes, your flaws, everything bad that you think you've done, you're loved and you're provided for. Can you let yourself receive that? And I started like being like, wow, because it's not the same energy as saying thank you, universe. Universe feels a little contracted. If I check in with my body, it doesn't feel like this big hug of light. But obviously I always tell people like whatever you feel called to saying, if for you it's source, it's universe, you're free to say what you want. I'm just sharing like my own journey and realizing that like I guess it's opening myself up to God because I do think it's whatever is real. And I think there's a lot of truth in religion, but once again it was manipulated and it was used to do harm. And I know for sure that like in the Bible there's a lot of good stuff, like it talks about manifestation and stuff like that, it's really good. But I know there's so many like different versions of Bibles where like sentences were rewritten, and just one word can change up the whole vibration of the sentence, you know? So it's just very interesting to learn, because I know there's a lot of people who watch my stuff that are religious. So I don't know if you were like, did you go to church and stuff like that?
No, I was introduced to church because my family is like Mormon one side.
Okay.
So
Okay.
super, super religious in that sense. And was introduced, but I always felt something felt off to me, even when I was like 6.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was just things about it that just didn't feel right. And so because of those experiences, it made me turn away from God and think that it was bad, but it was just the religious nature of it all. Um, and so anyways, when I went back to, I just remember this one day I was at my like lowest of lows, same thing, like a breakup. And I just remember like going to my knees and being like, God, I know if you're there. And I was like, I don't know who I'm supposed to believe in, like Buddha, Jesus, all these different spiritual teachers but I knew there was this higher power. And like you said, it's the divine consciousness, where I feel I went through that phase too of saying universe, but I almost think universe, source is just to try to help people that have this like really skewed awful relationship with God because of religion feel good about a godlike consciousness again without having to say God with the connotations that could be attached, because of
Yeah.
course
Yeah.
there has been a lot of religions who have made it completely fear-based, and they've been meant to be disempowering. So when you come back to understanding that that's not the truth, and all of those things were just government constructs imposed within religion to control people, then you can feel good again about God. So I say God all the time also, and I feel good with it and that
Yeah.
relationship without having to tie it to religion. But I find myself now, because I actually in 2020 I was like, okay, well maybe I'll just start Bible study for fun. Like I have a bunch of friends who are Christian, maybe they're onto something, and I did. And it just, there was again lots of things that I was like, nope, like just brushing up against things that I was like, this isn't true. Like there's certain teachings that I'm like, this just is not true. They've been
Mm,
misconstrued, and just because you're saying something to me, I'm not just going to accept it and like now go live my life by that if it
yeah.
doesn't make sense. But I find the same thing, like there's so much value within the Bible or within Jesus's teachings, or even like in Buddhism and all these religions where there's such good principles if we could bring it back to what the truth of it really meant in an empowering way with love. I don't know if you've read They Walked with Jesus. Have you read that book by
I
Dolores
did not.
Cannon?
No.
It gave me a whole perspective where I went, this is what he was trying to teach. Like
Mm,
this is what he was trying to teach, and it's just been so misconstrued over the last however many hundreds of years. But that one was really good, and there's another one too, the Gospel of Peace, I think it's called, or like Jesus
okay.
and the Essenes. Anyway, there's all these teachings if you are finding yourself interested in learning more about Jesus, where I feel like you'll just be like, this was it, like he got it, and this
Mm,
is what he was trying to teach people, and we had to go and fuck it all up.
basically. Well, I don't
Yeah.
think we're the ones who fucked it up. I think
No.
the
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah.
like, well, the church murdered him, so why don't we start there, right?
Oh
If you
yeah.
really want to go back. Yeah.
Yeah. I know
It
it's
goes
crazy.
deep.
I watched the movie with Tom Hanks, what is it?
Mm,
Angels and Demons or something. It was
yeah.
so whack, because then it's like, yeah, there's truths in like religion, and like holy crap, they've killed a lot of people, so you don't find out what actually went down, you know? So,
Hmm.
and like don't even get me started on the Vatican, but you know.
I know. It's
Yeah,
dark.
but it's very
But
dark.
like that's who killed Jesus. So I'm like, if we really go back to the roots of it all, like that's who killed him, was the Roman Catholic Church. So if we want to start there and go into that, you know what I mean? It's like go back
Yeah,
to the roots. They're still working in that energy today.
I know.
Yeah.
Apparently his name is Yeshua, which is kind of crazy.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know why they would have. I don't know. But apparently, very soon, everyone's going to be calling him Yeshua again instead of.
Instead. Yeah.
I would just love, like, I love this. It's so interesting, but I'm pissed off that
Yeah.
I have to like find the real version, or like
I know.
I would love to read a Bible, but like I have to find the one where it's like not with twisted meanings and like. Anyways, but yeah, it's super
I
interesting,
know.
because it's like there's so many like-minded people, like even you, like just having this conversation is very easy, you know, that I
Yes.
don't like. A lot of people are always like, I don't have many friends and family who think like me. Luckily, like my parents and my older brother and like even my boyfriend, stuff like that, super open, so I'm very grateful. But I know sometimes it can be hard, because like I don't have any friends, which I'm fine with, you know, for now, because I feel like everyone who like watches my videos, I feel like they're my friends. I feel like we're all interconnected and stuff. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
it's super cool that like not this is becoming like normalized, but like yeah, more and more people are thinking like this, and like they've thought like about this for a long time. And I feel like the planet's gonna look so different in a few years
100%.
because oh, anyways, it's cool stuff. I'm so
Well, I
excited.
know there's so
So
much shifting. Okay, I have a question for you. So, are you from Canada?
I am.
Where? Me too. Where?
I am like an hour from Montreal.
Okay, I thought that's what I was hearing in your voice too, but I wasn't sure. But I was like, there's no way she's from the States then if she just talked about Tim Hortons and the way you sound. I'm like, it's kind of that French-ish.
Well, I was born in Florida and I lived there 3
Okay.
years. So that's where I learned my English. That's why I have like kind of an American accent sometimes. It's not like
Yeah.
a French
No,
accent, but yeah.
there's certain words that I'm like, I can hear it, the Canada being near the French. Okay, in regards to what's your take now? Because I don't know if you felt like this, but in 2020, I was super involved in, well, it's when I started discovering like the tunnels and, like you said, the pedophiles
Yeah.
and all the darkness. And I went
Yeah.
so far into it, I had to pull myself out and be like, holy shit, okay, all this darkness is happening, but like, how is that supporting your life right now? And how are you impacting the world by like focusing on that? You're not. So, like, let's let it go.
Mhm.
But I was so involved in even the election, what was happening, and politics and all that. And so I'm curious if you felt the same way, where I was pretty much completely removed this time. Um, I have no weight pulled into either. Like, obviously, I have my own beliefs and who I'd like to win.
Yeah.
And, but I wasn't like so invested. And I don't know if you're finding that you don't feel like you have trust and investment in politics anymore to like save the world, or if
Yeah.
you're feeling like there is a good role. Because obviously I woke up the next day and I don't know if they just do the I'm sure they use the right dates based on what's happening energetically around the world, but I felt so much peace and I was like, no, we're moving in a positive direction. But it
After
wasn't
the
just because,
elections, you mean?
yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
just because Trump won. I just felt like things are shifting in a positive direction, and maybe that was part of the process, was like one of those things as a win to like
Yeah.
refocus on health. Because I don't know if you're following like RFK and everything
Of
he's wanting to
course.
do, but
Heck
I'm
yeah.
like, everything he wants to do is like, these are all the right steps we need to be making.
Of
And so I'm
course.
like, are you just a spokesperson? I don't know. I'm just curious your thought, because I don't feel nearly as invested as I once did in even really caring about politics.
Oh, I personally never did care. I don't because it's all like it's all a show. But
Yeah.
from what I've learned and what I know and all the information that I've had access to, like Trump is just a character, right? He's just like he's the spokesperson, but I do fundamentally believe that he is assisted by so many like good guys and light beings that
Hmm.
come from so many other different places that are like, yo, humans on earth, they need our help. And what's about to happen, like the freedom, like liberating mankind and stuff, which is like my only content, it was supposed to happen on 9/11, but obviously they didn't want humans to be freed, so the towers blew up. It's not Arabs, hello.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's crazy to think that this was supposed to happen like 23 years ago, and it took
Wow.
23 years. And now it's like I really think the pieces had to be put in place. I think what happened 4 years ago was so that people start asking questions. Obviously a lot of people didn't ask questions and they just complied and stuff like that, but
Right.
it's like there's a lot of people who don't care, like they're comfortable in their little perception of reality. And I remember I had a crush on this guy and like we got along really well, and then we were like we I was at the gym, he was at the gym, we were talking something like that, and then he just said like, why don't you just get the vax, like what's the big deal? And I was just like, ugh, that's so unattractive, like you have no spine, like you can't be like this alpha and stuff if you can't just like stand your
You
ground, you
can't,
know?
yeah. No, I felt
So
the same way on dating
yeah.
profiles. Like if it says vaccine, I'm like, are you even a man? No offense for people listening if you've never heard me talk about this before, but truly, it's like you just complied. I'm like, and you're supposed to save and protect my family and like be able to kill for my kids. Like,
I
if the
know.
world really went to that, I'm like, I can't trust you. You just, I don't know. I was like, I don't care
I
what your
know.
job said. Like, you should have been in a position that knew how to have another option for yourself.
I know, and that's the thing. I think it was a very difficult period to be alive in, just because like everyone was like, oh well, do I have a choice, do I not have a choice, do I feed my family, do I keep my job, what do I do? But like every time someone said I had no choice. And it's funny because the first guy who like, heartbreak, all that stuff, he messaged me because I had posted a story about the vaccine and how like nothing in life is free, but yet this one is just handed out like, here you go, you can have it.
Right.
Like, we're not going to charge you for it. And he had just messaged me saying like, oh, like this isn't good even for my liking. And like, I had no choice to get it. And like, I waited until the very last second to get it and stuff like that. So it's very interesting because even the people who got it, oh my God, there are so many who are like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I always say. I was like, okay, if you're able to put your ego aside and say, you know what, I fucked up. I regret it. I'm not really pleased that I did it, but I did it. You have to forgive yourself because, like, I've seen comments like this about people freaking out and saying, oh my God, Laura, like, I got it. Like, am I going to be okay? Oh my God. You can't be in the fear. You can never be in the
Mhm.
fear. And I truly believe that, like, if you put yourself in like an energy of prayer or just like ultimate surrender, like, please help me, or like, please deliver me from this, because I know that the vaccine, I truly hope for you that like this episode won't get taken down because we've used a lot of words that they don't
Yeah.
like us to say. But
Yeah.
yeah, what was I going to say? I know that the people who have gotten it, what it does is it opens a lot of shit over you in the spiritual realm. And I know people who are constantly tormented and they don't know why, but it's because you literally have beings around you at all times now because that's what was in it. And it's like we
Mhm.
live in a world that is so much more complex than we can ever begin to imagine. And it's like when you think about how like churches used to have bells, but reptilians don't like the sound of bells. And then, oh my God, churches had like such high frequency, like I don't know, the
Well,
not the
even the
art,
things,
but the
well,
yeah,
even the things at the top, like all the shapes were to
exactly.
pull in that power. Yeah.
And they literally they show it, I think it's in the third or fourth Men in Black movie, like they're going to the top of the Eiffel Tower, they're going to, I think it's like the pyramids or something like that. Like these aren't porns, like first of all, the fact that people think the Eiffel Tower just showed up and like little men built it's in, like, what, like, but we never stopped and asked
I
ourselves, oh yeah, the Eiffel Tower, I can't wait to go see it. How the fuck did it get here though? I don't know.
know.
So
Right.
it's like this
Well,
is
I
an
always go back to like, look at our houses we're living in right now. They're so shit, plain and ugly. But like, you go to Europe and you're like, we really think the same thing was happening on both of these places, and we've discovered hammers in North America. Like, how do you think they built all of this stuff over in Europe?
yeah,
It's
I know.
completely like, yeah. Have you watched The Lost History of the Earth or History of the Lost Earth?
I didn't.
It's on YouTube. It's like a 9-part series. It's really long, but you might really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It talks about a lot of that stuff and like how they like just pondering questions that help you start thinking about like everything that used to happen over there versus like how the F did we get here and we really believe what we've been told here in North America. Like, yeah, anyways, it goes deep and it's really good. And it talks about even like the natural
Okay.
natural disasters that happened to wipe out certain things and the purpose of it, and like were we really this size the whole time? Like it goes into like incubators and how we were just like orphans were brought over here to like create this new land in North America. Like it's
Yeah.
just, you'll be like so much of it, I was like, this makes so much more sense than the BS stories that we were fed. Because I'm
Of
like, we didn't
course.
just build pyramids and Eiffel Towers and now can barely build a nice house. Like, what's
I
going on
know.
here?
I
Like the
know.
buildings we build now are so ugly. I'm like, what happened?
But see, this is the thing. Like, we're at a time where like you got to start asking yourself these questions. So I truly think that like 4 years ago, a lot of people started being like, okay, they're giving this thing out for free. It's barely research. It's supposed to like save my life from a cold or something. Okay. And I've seen a lot of people be like, okay, I think more open minded. And it's funny because even my boyfriend, I met him, and on the first date, I was like, oh shit, I didn't ask him if he was vaccinated. And then we met and I was like, "Did you get it?" And he's like, "No, but I was going, like, I probably will." I was like, "Well, if you do, we can't be together." And then he was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And now he understands, but back then I think he did think I was like crazy,
A
but
little
he
bit
didn't
crazy.
understand. But I know I saved his life. Not I saved his life, but like he would have gotten it. So I think that's always funny because, like, yeah, I had these like standards for myself because I don't want his swimmers to be full of, I don't know, no, I'm not, no. But see,
Not
that's the
messing with it.
thing, I'm not saying this to like scare anyone or like the people who did get it, and like it's not to be in fear, right? But I see it as like, ask for healing, ask for
Yeah,
perfect divine health, ask for forgiveness, because you did not have all the information. Like, it's so, like, you did not have all the information to make that type of
exactly.
decision, which is
W-
insane. And I had a friend, and she was really gonna like, not, she was pushing it not to get it, and then the gyms had been closed for a while, and she
mhm.
wanted to go to the gym. She ended up getting it. I was like, what, are you kidding me? And then they closed the gyms again because, like, oh, it's gotten too bad again. So that's like, oh my god, if you,
Yeah,
that should have like striken everybody's bullshit meter to the max. But
100%.
then I can also understand like the older generations, like obviously like the grandparents and people like in 70s and 80s, like back then they never asked, like, the consciousness
No, they just
levels like
trusted
in the
everything
50s,
that, yeah,
40s, oh my god, must have been so different, because like the little life made sense. But now
yeah.
you see people making money by not working hard while they're sleeping, living fulfilling lives. Oh my god, I want that too, but I can't get that if I go to school and get indebted, and like, what am I,
Mhm.
so I think it's all perfect just starting to ask questions, but there's a lot of people obviously who look the other way, which is perfect. We're gonna love them when they realize that,
Well, I always
uh,
go back to too, like we've talked about this a bunch of me, myself and my friends who are like, life was so simple, not knowing, like being blissfully unaware. You didn't have to like look at everything with a critical lens to be like, wait, does this feel like truth? Does this make sense? And I feel like back when that all started, like I remember on my TV screen, my dad had put the news on and I went, I don't know what this is, but you need to turn it off right now. Like I could feel like these like dark entities trying to like attach to
mm,
everybody. And I could see it, feel it. And I was like, I hadn't even dove nearly as deep as I started to, but everything in me was like, this is wrong. There's something bad about it. And it was almost like the way I see it now, it's like it was almost the thing that woke up all the little like light warriors on Earth that were like, it's time. Like, here we
mm-hmm,
go. We were literally came here for this, and like this is the initiation because it it did. It woke up all the people who started to realize this stuff. Life is not the same for anyone
mm-hmm,
who started to realize that in 2020. And I feel like, and if on the vax topic, like if you were, I think all you can do is realize you're more powerful than any of that stuff. Ask, like you said, ask for healing and
yeah,
all of that. But this person I work with who she does like energy healing and stuff, she said that all of her patients that came in, their chakras were going the opposite way. So anyone, she started noticing a trend, anyone who was vaccinated, she's like, what the hell? Like, why are they spinning the opposite way? And so it had just like kind of wreaked havoc on the system. The system was like, I don't know what's going on, but that's your entire energy center through all the centers of who you are and how you function. And so even if that, like if you felt funny or weird or dealt with health stuff, it's like just allow it to show it what it's meant to show you, allow the choice to show it what it was meant to show you.
yeah,
But start doing, if you want to go to like an energy worker, a Reiki healer, someone, or like healers that can help you cleanse it out, because I do know some people who have helped a lot of people just remove whatever they can, kind of like you would a parasite cleanse, but like heavy metal detox, just different things
yeah,
to help process it out of your system. And I think ultimately, yeah, realizing like what I don't know if we'll ever have to hit something like that again, right? They say so many things are coming in 2026 to 2030, but I'm
yeah,
just like, just to have the awareness that like anything that's trying to make you feel fear, don't buy into it and don't jump into it. Like even
yeah,
right now with the politics stuff, I was like, how quickly people reverted right back to the separation, divide, fighting one side versus the other. I was like, fuck,
yeah,
like this is exactly what happened in 2020. And you just,
yeah,
I don't know, it seems sometimes I'm like, I feel like we're further along, and then situations like that show up and it makes you realize how quickly we revert to those old habits that just don't serve us ultimately.
yeah. But the whole thing about like, because I think sometimes it's just I know a lot, but there's also things that like I don't care about. Like, so the politics, I don't care about it that much. And
Yeah.
I started posting about like Trump and stuff, and people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're like this smart and you're talking about Trump, and like, don't you know it's just the same bird and two wings and blah blah blah." I'm like, I understand, but I also understand that there's one side that is like literally going to prolong evil and darkness, and the other side is here to like fuck shit up and bring peace and harmony back, right? So for me, it's not about like, it's not that I like Trump the person and blah blah. Like, I don't care specifically about the person. For me, it's more what he represents and what
Right.
he's here for. And I really, really think that he's so protected. Like, in the non-physical realm. Like there's so
Mm-hmm.
many like light beings, like I truly believe it. And I felt it too after the elections. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, everything's gonna be okay. Like I don't
No,
have to panic, you know?
it felt like peace. I woke up not even
Yeah,
related. I was like, no, this was like a shift to move us like back up to where we're meant to be. Like
exactly.
I could feel it. And I also think with the Trump thing, like when you were talking about breaking free of the matrix, like, okay, but we also have to live here. So if we have to live here, don't you think that like the higher ups beings, like light, whatever, is utilizing the systems we have in place? It has to. Like there's too
Yeah,
many people that still believe in these structures that it's like, okay, if you
exactly.
guys still want to use politics and still want to believe in this system, okay, then we're going to use it to our advantage to like move society, whatever, forward.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's that. Like maybe they're using it because it's just part of the systems that are at play and they know that they have to. Maybe it's that.
Well, it's literally because I feel like they have to make it more digestible for people because
Yeah.
I for sure people are going to go through psychotic breakdowns when the truth starts coming out, and it is going to, like it's starting
And it's
to, like
starting. Yes.
yeah. So people
Hmm.
won't have a choice to look at it and like, okay, maybe like the youngsters are like, their levels of awareness are a bit higher. But like, I'm just thinking about like, for instance, like my grandparents or something that like watch the news at 5 p.m. and like they follow the little rules and stuff. Like their realities are going to shatter. And so many souls, like I don't like to
Mm,
say die, but a lot of people are going to transition back
yeah.
into the non physical because it's like, oh
It's
shit,
too
I
much.
can't deal with this reality. So
Hmm.
I think everything has been strategically planned to bring it forward, like slowly, like start planting the seeds, start introducing it a little bit, start making it a little bit more normal so that when stuff does start happening,
Hmm.
some people, like I said, it's more digestible. But
Digestible.
because I feel like it would create way too much chaos if you just start saying like, yeah, there's this evil cabal that's been like controlling the world and like, oh, energy harvesting and like blah blah, blah. Like fuck, what do you mean? What do you mean? You know?
Yeah. The people
So
who don't know any of it, right? It's like to be able to, to even understand the concept of energy harvesting, it's like, wait, what? But it's
I
like
know.
that's what they do with the news. That's what they're doing. They're feeding off of
Yeah.
the fear, and that's the energy. And when you start to understand even that within yourself, like how do you feel when you're sitting in more of like love and peace and joy versus when you're in fear? Like I'm a mess. Like my brain doesn't function. The second
Yeah.
that I'm like overwhelmed or overstimulated or I'm like sucked into any of this stuff, like I can't create, I can't do anything that's productive. I'm not
Yeah.
impacting my family or like able to show up for them. And so when you really start to see that, you're like, oh, this really does bring me into like two very different versions of myself. And now think of that, if we are all connected on a global scale, what's happening? I'm just like, yeah, it's a lot.
Well, exactly, because we're all going through it. And what I've been saying for a while is that the collective vibration of the planet is going back to love, right? Because the Matrix has been
Mhm.
operating on fear. Oh my God, what does that feel like trying to stop existing through fear and going back to your divine nature of being love? Oh my God, that's so uncomfortable. I don't know what love is. I don't feel comfortable receiving love. So it's like there's so much individual work that needs to be put in, but no one knows about it because obviously you don't get taught about this in school. And it's just so crazy. And me, the part that always pisses me off is like, this is labeled as cheesy or like rainbows and like, oh yeah, you're funny to think that like life is just love. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's
Our
literally
natural
like
state.
it's either it's love or it's the other way around. Like that's everything is like it's the law of contrast. But people don't go there because like that's what the that's what the educational system does. God damn
Yeah.
it.
No, I
So
know.
I
It's
know.
all of it.
So
What okay, so when you left school, what was the pull for you to leave school? You were just like, fuck this. This is just doesn't feel right. Like,
well, Uh, so basically in Canada, like high school, there's 5 years. So
yeah.
for the first 3 years, I had like, a little friend group and stuff. And then it all went to shit. And like, I got called like a bitch and a hypocrite. And like, I got like canceled, I guess, by these friends of mine. And I was just like, ugh, and stuff. And I was just like, okay. So then I started the school year and I was trying to get through it. But then I had to take like, really hard science and math, and I despise both of those things. I was like, how am I going to do it? Like, I'm a smart person, but I'm not like an intellectual, like smart. No, 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 no. That's
Well,
not
it's
my.
just different sides of the brain. Like if you're a writer and you write and you
Yeah,
speak, your
yeah.
brain is not going to thrive in math and science. Like they're just two different things.
No, I know. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I can't. So
Yeah.
I was just I was trying to push through it, right? Because I was like, oh, well, when you're 15 years old, that's what you do. You go to school. And then I just woke up one morning. I sat up in my bed. I like my alarm rang and I felt so fucking unhappy. And I was just like, I'm supposed to like I said earlier, I'm supposed to live like this for I don't know how many years. And like, because that's just what people my age do. Like, that's just, I was like, no, like, that's not what I want. I was like, can I choose even if I'm 15? And luckily, I have such a strong relationship with my parents. They trusted me, which is like, I don't, oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's what I always say to people, like, oh, I'm scared to have kids. I'm scared they turn out like this. I'm like, you're the one raising them. So, like, you're the one giving them
100%.
their values. You're the one, do you trust them? Do you make them feel emotionally safe? Like, me and my brother, we have the best relationship with our parents because we were never scared of our parents or we never got beaten up by our parents. So, I know that that's an enormous gift that I received in life
Mhm.
because maybe if I had had a different home environment, like, who knows, right? But
Right.
I had a discussion with them. I was like, okay, I don't want to keep doing school. Like, could we look at homeschool or like a school online? So we started looking it up, but then it was kind of like out of the budget at that time because it was pretty expensive to sign up. So I was just like, oh, let's just push it under the rug and like see what happens and stuff. But then I ended up getting my first job. And then I was like, well, I remember I have a video and like I'm crying and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. And like, I feel like I'm disappointing you guys, but I can't go back. And at that time, I turned 16. So it was now legal for me to not go to school because I had a little 6 months
Right.
of being 15. And technically, you're not supposed to let your kids out of school. So by the time I was 16, I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And I always say, like, I have no, it's not, I'm always so fascinated by my journey and just how things in life happen because, like, whenever I felt unhappy in a place, I let it go and something better always showed up. But it's not because I didn't struggle to trust life or for the longest
Mhm.
time I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what's my thing? What's my purpose? What am I going to do? I have no idea, right? And I remember resenting life, being like, you make me go through the same shit. You don't give me any answers. What am I supposed to do down here? But the whole time I knew.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the first ebook that I wrote, like how to write your life script, I was reading old conversations with the first guy who broke my heart. and
Yeah.
and I literally had told him, I want to write a book about this. So this was before all my awakenings. And I was like, are
Right.
you telling me I had the idea like 6 years ago and it took me this fucking long to act on it? So that's why I always tell
Right.
people, you already know. You already have the answers. You might be overlooking it. You might be disqualifying your potential, your talent because you think it's not good enough.
Well, and because the idea is so faint. Like the whisper, that's why they say
It's
like
a
a God
whisper.
whisper. It's not this like, I'm gonna write a book. You're like, I should
It's
write a
not
book
in
on
your
this.
face.
Like
Look
it
at me.
just
Look at me.
nope. It
Yeah.
just kind of just like enters your mind and it's
Yeah.
so small and subtle that it's so easy to jump over because it's not gonna be as loud as like,
Exactly.
oh my God, this person just messaged me and I have to do this and like I have to pay this bill. Like those life things that are pulling your attention, the God whispers and like those little hints of intuition that are hitting you, trying to guide you on
I
the right
know.
path, like they're real quiet. And I think we're looking for it to be big. And it's like, no, just like she said, you probably have one of those things that was, I should write a book on this. And then it kind of goes through and you're like, oh yeah, okay, well maybe one day. And you just keep on with life. And it's like, no, that was the thing. So
Yeah.
what's that thing that's hit you before? And it's like, no, that's the thing you're supposed to act on. So go back to that thing.
I know.
What the hell was I just going to ask you? In regards to school though, because I've actually never considered that where it's like, okay, you just start at 5 and you go till you're like 18 and
Yeah.
then you get to choose to break out of the matrix. And I'm like, okay, holy shit. Like even at 13, 14, 15, because right now I'm witnessing it with my son. I don't have either of them in school.
Okay.
And I've started like kind of homeschooling my 6-year-old, and I can just tell he doesn't care. And I'm like, everything else, he's so smart. He's such a like genius at everything he does. So why am I now trying to impose this thing that he's not ready to learn? And I just go, huh, okay. And that just reminded me that it's like, because maybe he's not meant to learn any of this shit, and like he'll just guide himself to where he's meant to go. Because I'm trying to help him learn reading and he's just doesn't care right now. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, well, maybe he just doesn't need to know yet.
Yeah, but technically, when you're 6 years old, like your subconscious mind is still forming. Like you're still
Yeah.
trying to understand reality and stuff. So, like, maybe putting words together can be fun, but like you probably just want to go swing on the swing set or something, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
He's
because
like,
he's
doesn't
still
care
in
yet.
playful energy. Yeah.
He doesn't
But I
care.
think that, like that's the thing that I find so like cool because the new souls reincarnating, all the babies, like they know, they know they're
They
not going to go to
know.
school. They're
No,
like,
you
fuck
know
this
what he
shit.
said to me? You'll love this. One night he went, because he goes in these trances at nighttime. I always say he's like totally a light being or something, like from another planet. And he tells me about his like past lives. Anyway, so he's laying there. He goes, yeah, it's so like, this is so crazy here. Like the whole purpose, you just like, I get it now. Like you're just here and all you have to do is learn love. Like that's it. That's the only reason we're here. We're just like here to learn love. And that's the whole purpose of this place called Earth. Like this Earth thing is just about love. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
you
That's so good.
like just
Wow.
straight, like he's 6 and I'm like, no, he gets it. And it really is that like you're trying to relearn and learn love because obviously we have things that hurt us. And so I watch it even with my little kids, like, yeah, of course we come in here and like we are pure love and all that, but like there's also shit that hurts our feelings and people who are mean. And so it's like, how do you continue to return to love? I feel like is actually what it is. It's like, okay, this thing is going to happen and this is going to happen in your life that don't make you feel love. How do you continue to return there? And then how
Yeah.
do you continue to show that to others? And it's like, that's kind of what Jesus was teaching too. So that's
Yeah.
it. It's like, it's
Makes
really that
sense,
simple.
doesn't it?
Like, it's that
My
simple.
God. But
Yeah.
I always say as a joke, well, not as a joke, but I always say like you're here to make love to this physical reality because you're love. But then you go through all this shit in this shitty dimension with all these shitty feelings and experiences, and then you're here to like make love to it. But then we all forget we're love, and then we all think we're not love, and then we think we have to chase it, and then we think we have to make money, and it's oh my God.
No,
Honestly,
I
I
thought I had to chase it for sure. That was, I
of
think that's my
course.
biggest lesson. Like all I look back on, I was doing an exercise the other night reflecting on just relationships and men in my life. And I went, where did I get these stories? Like, where did I get them and what's my pattern? And I went, holy shit, I could take it back all the way to being like 12, 13, where I thought I had to go out, prove my worth to get love with
Yep.
every single male in my life. And I was like, wow, that's so sad that I spent so much time doing that because I'm like,
Well,
you're so worthy just as you are. But it's like, it took me, I'm
yeah.
32 and I'm like, I'm finally like, it clicked where I went, holy shit. Okay, we're done with that pattern now in that story. But my whole
Yeah.
life, really? Wow.
I know. And it's just crazy because the moment you put your finger on where it comes from, like I've had some realizations in the past few months. I'm like, oh shit, it's because of mom. Oh
Yeah.
shit, it's because of dad. Oh my God, I've been trying to look for dad in my relationships. What the shit? Because it's just so subtle. And you don't, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know. It has to come from somewhere. You can't just have this belief out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
sometimes the even more complex thing is like, yeah, it's generational. It was never yours, but your
Mhm.
parents passed it down because like they couldn't process it, so now it's your turn.
100%.
So me and my brother, we were talking, we were like, oh, we're gonna process all of our shit so our kids don't have to deal with all of our
Yeah.
bullshit.
100%.
Even though I feel like every like different branch of the family tree, like I just feel like the consciousness levels every time are going to be higher
Of
because it's
course.
like it's the new branch, like it has to, like I feel like I if your kid says stuff like we're just here to learn love, like holy shit, like yeah,
That's
you can't sit
crazy.
him down in a classroom, it's not going to work,
No,
the consciousness
no.
levels are too high.
And
So
he
that's
won't.
why.
I know that. But I'm like, when you have kids and you hit the age where everyone's doing their kindergarten pictures like first day back to school, and I'm like, holy fuck, like what am I doing? Like, am I like, whoa? And I'm like, should I just send them? Like, it's like I start glitching because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm watching everyone else still participate in this, and I'm like, is there anyone who's not doing this? Like, am I the only weirdo? I'm like, it's just, yeah, it's a whole
Yeah.
thing. But I'm like, I knew he would not thrive, and I was like, his spirit is too just special, and I'm like, it's going to destroy him. And I was like,
mm,
is my 6 hours a day, because I just can't handle it, I want to be alone, and obviously there's so much shit I could do, but I was like,
yeah.
is that more important than like his spirit? No. So just like suck it up and deal with it, and
mm,
so here we are.
yeah.
um Wow. Okay, well, any last thoughts? I feel like this we could talk forever. This is so fun.
Of
I'm like, I haven't
course.
had a conversation about this stuff too in a while or ever like on the podcast, because I'm like, I started doing all this like deep work. And so I talk a ton about that, but it's like this was massively what woke me up to all of it. That sent me on this path was this
Yeah.
shit in 2020 and everything that came out, and it just like activated something in me, which completely transformed, I don't know, the entire trajectory of my life. So
I know.
for you, any last wisdom, words, thoughts? Like if you had to think, is there anything that wants to Is there anything you want to share? Message you want to share? Anything you want to share?
Because like you like I checked out your stuff and stuff. Like what is not your message, but like your thing that like you're here to like spread like as a message, or like what's your thing that really
I
you've
think for mine, it's just been like I authentically share every experience I'm going through in real time. And then the
mm,
lessons I'm learning from that thing. So like when it was becoming a mom, when I used to deal with body dysmorphia, when I competed and I like
mm,
was navigating what self-love really meant. I shared about that. Then as I like ended up getting pregnant and then dealing with that body stuff after being like the fitness person, dealing
mm,
with that stuff, dealing with the body dysmorphia showing up again, then like just being in motherhood, building a business, the struggles of that, going through a separation. And now it was just like the how I've just dove into the healing work and like prioritized growing as a person. And I just
mm,
shared that. So it's like the message really for me is more like, here's my life journey. And
yeah.
if you can learn something from what I'm learning, I'll share it in case it helps somebody
Mm.
else.
And what do you think, like what do you feel like your audience like likes hearing the
Oh,
most
like
from
what they'd
you?
like to hear. Got it. Um,
Well, not what they'd like to hear, but like sometimes you see like reoccurring comments of like, "Oh,
yeah, I feel like
is it more moms? Is it more
I do have a lot of moms, people who are in business. I think I have a lot of people who are chasing entrepreneurship but haven't made it yet, where they're fully
mm,
free to be like sovereign and like start their own thing. So they're like working toward it, but there a lot of people are not 100% there yet. And
mm,
or maybe they're almost there but don't have the confidence to go all in on that
yeah.
thing, to trust that like no, you don't actually have to be employed by anyone, and like you can have the freedom to live your life on your own terms, um like that.
It's such a crazy concept to like everything we've been taught is like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I am my income." What? It's like it's nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie, because it's like, shit. I don't
Well
see the
then,
net, but I'm going to jump.
and the responsibility is on you. And like,
Yeah.
how nice would it be to not have the responsibility?
Exactly, because it's I would love to for someone to tell me what to do, but no, I have to figure out what I need to do
Yeah,
every day. But it's
exactly.
fine. But I also I'm gonna close off on this because I know we could go on, but I wasn't really big into the whole human design thing. I don't know if you know what it is. Probably you
Yeah.
do. But then
Hmm.
I figured it out, and it's just like holy shit, my life has been different since I started moving with it. Oh my god, like
Well,
I'm a
you
generator.
okay.
So that means like Laura, sit the fuck down. Like you don't chase the ideas, they come to you. And honestly, I think for people who want to be entrepreneurs or like have their own business, you need to get to know yourself and how you create and what's the best time you create. Where do you
Mhm.
like to be? Is it in the afternoon? Is it at night? Is it whatever? Because I was always putting pressure on myself, like, oh, today I really need to like film videos and stuff, and I need to find out ideas. Every single time I do that, nothing happens because it's
Right.
like this pressure. It's like telling a kid, okay, we have to do homework now. Nope, I don't want to. I really don't want to. So I just find it super cool that like, yeah, man, just like get to know yourself
You
and
get
like,
to be you. Like I feel like human
yeah,
design gives you permission when you read through it. You're like, this is me. And you're like,
yeah,
oh, I've thought I needed to do it like this person or like this person. And you're like, no, your superpower is exactly how you function and you create. And so it allows you to lean into that. Because I'm a projector. And when I learned that, it was
okay.
like,
What does that mean?
oh, well, just for a lot of us as projectors, you're kind of like the seer. And so I have big ideas, big concepts that I'll just know. And I
Mm-hmm.
also don't have to do as much. Like I really just set the intention, and typically it comes to me. And I know when people are asking me how I built my business, they'd be like, what do you do? And I was like, I truly, I'm like, I don't know, manifest. Like I think of what I want and it comes to me. But when I try
Mm,
to go after the thing, I repel everything away from me every single time.
yeah.
And so it's like when you know that, then you can give yourself the permission that, like, no, you're actually functioning at your best self in your human
Mm-hmm.
design when you know what yours is. So it's super
Yeah.
valuable. I agree.
Yeah, I used to think is like, okay, is it part of the like spirituality wave trend and stuff? And I didn't really understand it. And
Yeah.
then the person that I saw a video from on TikTok was like, "Oh, just buy my thing so like I can tell you what your human design is." And then my brother was like, "You know, you can just put it into ChatGPT, right?" And I was like, "Oh my god, really?" And it literally like tells you how you're supposed to eat and like just like how things that are better
So
for you, and you're just like, "Shit, I didn't know that." So, I'm going to end it off on
learn it.
you should take a look at your human design.
Love. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, where can people find you? I know you have a podcast, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram. Obviously I'll link all your your website stuff, but where can people find you?
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Be careful on TikTok because there's so many fake accounts pretending to be me, scamming people and saying like, "Oh, hello, how are you? Do you need a reading?" And it's so annoying. Like I change my profile picture every day, and especially because I got banned, my TikTok got banned in June, so I've been like rebuilding it. So my username is
Mm.
different, so people don't know if it's me, and I'm just like, "Oh shit." But I mean, yeah, so TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. That's pretty much it. People are like, start a
I wonder
Rumble.
if
I'm
you're gonna
like,
get your account back, because you know how Trump said he's gonna help everybody that was like banned and shadow banned and stuff.
damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, apparently he's gonna take down big tech for doing that, and then everyone's accounts are supposed to come back. So
I
you
mean,
might get your account back.
it's fine. I rebuilt it anyways. Like that's what's funny because when it got banned, I think I was like at 220K on TikTok. And then I was like, when I got banned, I was like, okay, who am I? What am I doing? Because like I had spent like a year or two building it. So I was just like, what am I supposed to do now? But then I was like, you know what? It's in me. Like I'm fine. I'll keep going. Like I'm fine.
Just keep sharing. Yeah.
So I kept going and now I hit 100K again, which is funny because it's around the same time I did hit 100K last year. So I'm just like, in your face, bitches. You
Yeah.
know,
Just
like
keep
you
going,
keep
which is
going, keep
amazing.
going. Exactly.
Well, yeah, and the resilience to go again. Because it's like how many people would be like, oh my God, everything I worked for. But it's like, what are you going to do? Keep sharing the message.
I had a few days where I was like, oh my
Of
God,
course.
fuck my life. But you know, you keep
Yeah.
going because I think this is like the mission is really just to spread love and light on the planet, just like bring
Mhm.
people back to it. And like, yeah, it sounds goo goo and like, oh my God, but like, yeah, that's the truth of what you are. Your love. Get over it, you know?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
love it.
this was so much fun. Thank
So
you.
fun.
Wow.
Thank you for
Seriously.
being here. I know, such a fun experience. I just love these conversations. They're so
Of
fun. So
course.
thank
Oh
you.
my God. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for being on. I'll link all your stuff.
Yes,
And thanks for spending time
of
on the show.
course.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Have a
Bye.
good day. Bye.